awards.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Thank you, Mr Furlong, for being here again, and your staff. I'm interested in exploring the nature of labour hire arrangements and their relationship with associated awards, and also partly the CFMEU administrator. What's the total number of labour hire arrangements currently before the Commission to date?
I might start here and then ask Ms Scarlett to assist. My understanding is that to 30th September we'd received 55 applications for regulated labour hire agreement orders, or authorisation orders, sorry.
So what do you mean by regulated? Does that mean...
Of that number?
No, what's the regulated refer to?
Pardon?
What does the term regulated refer to?
Well, that's the
Come
term
before you
given
guys?
under the Secure Jobs Better Pay.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, the loopholes Mark 1
Thank you.
changes. And in terms of the number of applications or orders that have been made, there are 11. 9 of them, I understand, are in the mining industry, and 2 are in the meat processing industry. Ms Scarlett, is anything like that?
So that number was 50... 50 how many?
55,
Thank
Senator.
You.
Senator, Catherine Scarlett, Executive Director, Legal Performance and Engagement. As Mr Furlong has said, 11 labour hire arrangement orders have been issued since the commencement of the provisions.
What sort of orders?
Regulated labour hire arrangement orders.
Thank you.
Of the 55 applications, 11 orders have been made. A number of applications have been withdrawn, and the remaining matters remain before the Commission.
Thank you. What's the breakdown of these labour hire arrangement orders for each award that would otherwise have covered the employees?
Senator,
I have to take that on notice.
Yeah, I'm not sure that we can go to the award. The regulated labour hire arrangement orders compare the apply where there is a covered employment instrument in place, such as an enterprise agreement. So there's not necessarily an assessment of the award that applies, rather whether an enterprise agreement's in place that would cover the work of the labour hire employees if they were working in the business.
The enterprise agreement would be in an industry or work site that is covered by an award, but the enterprise agreement supersedes the award, right?
That's correct, Senator.
So would there be any such sites that only have an enterprise agreement and no backup award?
Senator, I don't believe there would be, but I need to take that on notice.
If you could, please. I'd like to know the connection to the award, or to the award that would be in place if the enterprise agreement wasn't there.
I understand.
Thank you. Can you advise if there would be a general expectation that anyone working as a casual should or would receive 25% more than a full-time employee doing similar or the same work?
Senator, the regulated labour hire arrangement order provisions provide for a 25% casual loading for regulated labour hire employees.
Casuals. Okay, thank you. Can you advise if there is a specific legislation, regulation or policy that requires that a casual employee should or would receive 25% more than a full-time employee doing similar or the same work? I know it's a community expectation and it's a right almost, but is it enshrined in law or statute or policy?
Senator, I'm not aware of a specific provision in legislation that requires a 25% loading.
Are you able to check that?
Yes.
You take that on notice to check it. Is it fairly normal that awards require casual employees to receive 25% more than a full-time employee doing similar or the same work? Can you point to any award that does not require a casual employee to be paid 25% more than a full-time employee doing similar or the same work?
I can't point to an award, but happily take that on notice. There are 155 modern awards, Senator.
Yeah. So I'd like to know if that's normal.
So can I just clarify the question so we make sure that we provide
sure.
you with the information that you...
Thank you. Is it fairly normal that awards require casual employees to receive 25% more than a full-time employee doing similar or the same work? That's the first part.
Yes. Okay, yeah.
And the second part, can you point to any award that does not require a casual employee to be paid 25% more than a full-time employee doing similar or same work?
We take a notice.
Yep. Thank you, Mr Furlong. In applying the Better Off Overall test, the boot test, to enterprise agreement applications, would it be the normal expectation of the Fair Work Commission that in having regard to pay rates of casual workers, that casual employees should or would receive 25% more than a full-time employee doing similar or the same work?
I'll ask Mr Corcoran to assist you there, Senator.
Robert Corcoran, Acting Executive Director, Tribunal Support Branch. Senator, each application is considered on its own merits by the member. They take into account the circumstances in its entirety. It's not a line-by-line assessment that the member will make. The boot is the Better Off Overall test is a global assessment.
Global assessment. Okay. Thank you. If an award did not allow for casual employment, would this create the circumstance in which casual employees working under enterprise agreements subject to the said award would be paid less than full-time employees and or be paid a rate that would be less than a full-time employee plus 25%?
An employee wouldn't be paid, a casual employee wouldn't be paid less than a full-time employee. I wouldn't have thought in normal circumstances.
Really? Casual employee would be paid less than a full-time?
I thought they would not have been paid less.
Oh, sorry. And it would be, they'd be paid what the full-time gets plus 25%?
Senator, I think that some of these questions, I return to the correspondence that I provided to you on the 11th of January this year regarding information published obviously on your website, but also about relating to the Better Off Overall test and the Chandler McLeod Northern District of New South Wales Black Coal Mining Agreement 2015. I'm not too sure if you still have access to that correspondence.
I do, and it's sitting on my desk.
Yeah, okay. This,
with an intent to reply.
This series of questions were covered in that correspondence,
okay.
And I'm happy to table if that would assist as well.
No, that's fine. I know exactly where it is on my desk.
Okay, thank you.
Can you envisage a circumstance in which, if a union objected to an enterprise agreement, because the pay rate of casuals would be less than that of a full-time employee plus 25%, that the Fair Work Commission would ignore the objections of the union and endorse the agreement despite the union's objections?
Do you mind if I, and as we've discussed several times, the Better Off Overall test is, as Mr Corcoran said, it's a global assessment to ensure that the employees are better off overall. It is always determined by a member of the Commission. Members, as you're aware, are independent statutory office holders who are required to ensure that in their decisions they are satisfying the obligations, the functions, prescribed content of the enterprise agreements before they can be satisfied and then ultimately approve the decision to make the agreement operational. Now, if a party is to that agreement, or someone who has an interest in that agreement, a valid interest in the agreement, is unsatisfied or has a concern with that agreement application, they can seek to have the agreement overturned through the mechanism of an appeal, and that is their right. The other thing that I'd just like to add here...
Excuse me, Senator, to answer that question. Would the Commission ignore the objections in assessing the enterprise agreement? Would the Commission ignore the objections of the union as part of that? If the union... I'm not talking about passing it and then objecting. I'm talking about objecting as they're processing it.
Prior to the application being made, it would be the subject of deliberation of a member before the tribunal.
It'd be pretty unlikely, though, wouldn't it?
Well, I can't speak on behalf of members and in their independent statutory decision making.
Have you ever seen a member overturn a union objection?
As we've discussed, my role is to provide administrative support to the President of the Commission to ensure...
It'd be pretty unlikely, wouldn't it?
I can't answer that, Senator.
Okay. All right, so I cut you off there.
I was just going to say that if an agreement has reached or passed its normal expiry date, then a party to that agreement can seek to have the agreement unilaterally terminated.
Yep.
And then they will fall back to the underpinning award, or they can obviously have the right to negotiate a new enterprise agreement.
I think what I'm getting at, thank you for the extra detail, it goes beyond what I'm looking for, outside what I'm looking for. If a union, in the process of getting approval for an enterprise agreement, if a union, by the Fair Work Commission, if a union objected to an enterprise agreement because the pay rate of casuals would be less than that of a full-time employee plus 25%, then the Fair Work Commission would hardly ignore the objections of the union and endorse the agreement despite the union's objections.
It's a case-by-case basis on the information that's provided to the members in the consideration of whether or not
what would be the likelihood?
Agreement applications.
What would be the have you heard of any?
As I said, Senator, it's not my role to sort of comment on cases that are determined by members of the Commission. It's my role, my responsibility to provide the President with administrative support as the General Manager to ensure that the Commission can operate effectively.
I'm not asking you for your opinion.
So I can't comment on cases that come before the Commission. They are dealt with.
I'm not asking you to. I'm not asking for your opinion on the member making the decision. I'm asking, would it happen? Has it happened?
I don't have any oversight of particular cases that move through the tribunal side of the Commission.
Would anyone else care to comment? It would seem to me to be almost impossible. I won't say it is impossible, but...
Senator, I would say that a member would always consider the views of the parties, but ultimately the member must be satisfied that the requirements of the Act have been
Thank
met.
you. I have some questions, I think, for the Minister, and I think most of them will be pretty simple, Minister. I'd like to table this letter from the Independent Workers Union of Australia. Who do I... Thank you. It's a letter that was sent to the CFMEU Administrator, copied to you, me and Senator Cash. I think these will be fairly simple, given your background, Minister. Why is the CFMEU Administrator not here at Senate estimates?
Well, they're not a public official. I mean, if you look at I think pretty much every person who attends estimates is either a minister or a public official, public servant. The administrator is not a public servant. I mean, there's probably other reasons, but that would be one of them.
Who pays his salary?
He's being paid by the CFMEU in the same way that officials of the union have traditionally been paid.
That, yep. What responsibilities does the CFMEU Administrator have with or to the Fair Work Commission? I imagine he'd have to deal with them.
Mr Furlong might be a better place to...
I am the regulator under the Registered Organisation.
I'm just mindful of the timing. We do have Senator Rennick on this too, but I'm not cutting you off.
I think these will be pretty quick.
Thank you.
Under the Registered Organisations Act, Senator, I'm the regulator of registered organisations. I oversee all registered organisations, employer and employee alike.
Could I guess this will then be directed to you, could the CFMEU Administrator authorise payment of the underpaid miners from the CFMEU Mining Division, CFMEU funds, using CFMEU funds?
I can't speak on behalf of the Administrator, and I don't think you're here for this section of my evidence, but the Administrator operates independent of government. He will make decisions on behalf of the union as he sees fit.
Okay. Can he investigate wage theft from casual miners in Central Queensland and Hunter Valley?
He can certainly look into, in representing the interests of his members, he can certainly look into the underpayments, and it's a core function, obviously, of trade unions to do that.
Noting that the Administrator is the Administrator of the Construction and General Division of the CFMEU. So, to use colloquial, his members are members of the Construction and General Division of the CFMEU, not, for example, members of the Maritime Division, and certainly not people who are now members of the Mining and Energy Union. His only responsibility is for the Construction and General Division and its members.
Senator Watt, the government said it needed the Parliament to create the CFMEU administrator to deal with alleged CFMEU illegality and criminality, didn't it?
I might make you look back at what we said. We had a debate this morning about it's not really possible for me to go into the intention of the administration because of the High Court litigation, but I'm sure you can look back at what was said in the second reading speech.
That's my impression, so correct me if I'm wrong. Now management of this is not subject to parliamentary scrutiny. You said it would be a matter of intense or immense public importance.
Well, I think there has been a lot of public interest in this issue.
Oh, yeah. So wouldn't it be better to have him subject to parliamentary scrutiny? Senate estimates.
I'm just looking around at our lawyers to see if it might be. I might just get Ms Godden, who's the Departmental Chief Counsel, back up if that's okay. I know departmental people don't normally appear at the table when we've got the authorities. Senator Roberts, we just, as I said, I don't know if you were here earlier this morning, but we had a discussion about issues that we could answer questions on and issues that we couldn't because they might involve the High Court case, and I don't want to say anything that's going to interfere with that, and I know you don't want me to either. So could you just ask the question again and I can get some advice on whether I can answer that?
The government said it needed, my understanding is that the government said it needed Parliament to create the CFMEU administrator to deal with alleged CFMEU illegality and criminality. Now the management of the oversight of the CFMEU is not subject. CFMEU administrator is not subject to parliamentary scrutiny, and yet it was said to be a matter of immense public importance.
Yeah, and as I said, I have no doubt that it's a matter of great public interest. I was saying before to Senator Payman that either the legislation or the scheme of administration requires the administrator to provide a report to me every 6 months, which I'm required to table in the Parliament. So there is a form of parliamentary accountability, if you like, through that. But that was considered to be the appropriate amount of reporting for a role that is completely independent of government.
Okay.
Can I, Senator Roberts, is this final? I know you've been very patient during the day, but
given a report in the media on April 12th, I think, of this year, is the real reason, I mentioned this in a speech in the Senate, but there was no answer to it, is the real reason for the CFMEU being placed in administration to stop John Setka taking over Labor in Victoria, as he reported? And why wouldn't constituents be suspicious of the arrangement?
As I said in response to another question earlier, I'd really like to be able to answer that question, but it's probably not wise that I do, given the High Court litigation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
thank you, Senator.
But you might want to, I'm told you might want to have a look at paragraph 11 of the revised explanatory memorandum, which I think provides some reasoning for the legislation.
I need to go.
Thank you.